Hi, my name's Liz Cashin. I am an award-winning author, international TEDx speaker, and passionate mental health advocate and consultant.
Hi there, I am Madeleine Black. I am a psychotherapist. I'm also an author and also a TEDx speaker and an international speaker. And I speak out about sexual violence and helping people to find their voice and their courage too.
Thank you, Madeleine. And we just really wanted to jump on today, didn't we, to make this short video really just in light of everything that's happening in the world and also literally on our doorstep at the moment. And for those people who know our stories, we've both been through major traumas when we were 13. We had no control over, and that then triggered a lot of fear and anxiety and actually PTSD for both of us. And there's some similarities at the moment in kind of what people are being triggered to around anxiety and fear, and survival fear, actually, you know, around what is happening through the C virus. So we thought it'd be good just to come on today to share some of the things that we have learned along our journey that hopefully may give you some comfort today. And, you know, if you want to connect with either of us after this as well, please do so, because we do have a lot to share and a lot to give at this time. Would you agree, Madeleine?
Absolutely, and I've worked with trauma for many, many years. I've had my own trauma, as Liz said, and it's really, this time now is so uncertain. And when everything's out of our control, it can trigger back old traumas or can trigger back old panics or fears. And also we can see that with the media, there's so much fear and panic being fed to us that we can get swept away without realizing. I was doing it the same myself, watching too much of the news. So learning to switch off from all of it, go and do something different and try really to find a way to just connect in, get back to your body, you know, because when we're panicking and we're feeling the fear and we're getting out of control, we're getting out of our body. And my journey for years has always been about getting back into my body, because I very much left my body on the night that I experienced my trauma at 13.
Yeah, totally. And I think because we experience things that were out of our control, I think that's the fear, isn't it? When suddenly we don't feel like we've got any control, and we see things often on the news. Oh, how terrible for them, how awful for them. That will never happen to me, is what we think. And I think that's what was happening when it was in China. Oh, how awful for them. And we were all carrying on. And then suddenly it was in Europe, and like, oh, that's getting a bit close. You know, you and I both had loved ones abroad who were almost trapped. And so, you know, that's like, oh, that's getting really close. And then suddenly it's, you know, we're talking about lockdown in this country. And I think for a lot of people, it's then triggered them into shock. Like, oh my gosh, actually, is this happening to me? And some of us have gone into that fight, flight or freeze response, which is our natural physiological response to threat. But what it means is we don't have access to our rational brain. We go into survival panic. And I think that's what we're seeing in the shops. People suddenly going, oh my God, you know, I'm going to die. My family's going to die. I've got to get all this, I've got to stockpile like a war or something. But I think I'm not really trying not to judge those people, although I'm not saying it's right what they're doing. But I think sometimes we're just triggered so much into that non-rational brain, that survival instinct, that panic, that we're seeing a lot of that at the moment.
Absolutely, and fear is contagious. You know, as one of my friends said, she was in a supermarket and they brought out a pallet of pasta and everybody grabbed it, and she got home and she went, I don't even eat pasta. And then she bought it anyway. So, but also courage is contagious as well, and calmness is contagious. So you're right, when we get caught by our panic, we can't see anything else because we're just looking through panic eyes, you know, our filters, our glasses, whatever you want to call it. We're looking through the world at panic, and yeah, it's right on our doorstep. I have a daughter and a boyfriend right now who have the virus, but they're okay. They've asked me to now send games over, so you know it's coming through. I've dropped off my rummy cup on their doorstep, so you know they're now getting bored of it, but they have to stay in for 14 days. But they will get past it, and they will get their immune system will get used to it, hopefully. But yeah, panic can really, really blind us and blink at us to what's going on externally and what's going on internally. And whilst we can't control our external world right now, it's kind of happening around us. We are caught in this science fiction movie, it's what it feels like, but it is reality. We can find a way to control our internal world and keep that as steady as we possibly can, which is difficult, I know, but find ways. Everyone will have their own way, but find a way to calm your own internal world. And I've also been challenged, even though I've been doing this all my life. There's been moments when I've like, okay, got to calm it, you know, go out, get in nature, get a walk, do something. I have a little PT called Alfie, my little dog. So we go out and we go walking, which is great. We can do that still.
I love that. Yeah, nature. I'm out for an hour's walk every day, obviously mindfully keeping my distance from other people, but that's really supporting me, my mental health, my mental well-being, and also my immune system. You know, it's really important that we are doing everything we can in order to support our immune system. And it's also important to remember that this too will pass.
It will.
This too will pass. In those times of crisis for me, when I learned that phrase, it just gives me comfort just to sit and think this too will pass. And what I want to say is, you know, there are some people might say that's easy for me to say, so I'm not in a high risk category, and thankfully I'm not. But what we do know, you and I both know, is that negativity, if we think negative thoughts, it actually has a physical impact.
Absolutely.
So,
it will affect our immune system.
It does, and if we're feeling stressed,
it will lower our energy and lower our immune system completely.
Exactly. You know, if we were feeling stressed, what would happen? We might tense up. And then if we're doing that over time, obviously that's going to have a prolonged negative impact. And we also know that thinking positively can have a really positive impact to boost our immune system. So, you know, if you're in a high risk category or not, we're going to get it or we're not going to get it. But actually panicking about it and worrying about it isn't going to affect that necessarily. But what it will do is mean that if we are at least trying to be positive, that we're actually giving our immune system a booster. So that if we do get it.
It's hard to use words like negative and positive. I think it's better to maybe say just to find a way to ground you when you feel yourself panicking or coming out, because we can't just think positive thoughts and it goes away. We have to actively do something, even if it's just to stop, go onto YouTube, put on some music, find a guided meditation. This morning I did a HIIT workout with Joe Wicks for half an hour. You know, find something, but pay attention to what you're doing. Listen to your mind and your thoughts, because it's not as easy as just staying positive. You have to really work on it.
It's true. And what a better word is, and thank you for saying that, is to reframe things. Maybe that's more what I meant, rather than positive. Because I think you're right.
Accepting, yes, we're not in control at the moment. When we fight it and we resist it, that builds more pressure inside. But when we go, actually, right now, none of us know how this is going to look when it's over. And you're right, it will pass. The world could be very different. We could go back to our selfish ways. Who knows? But right now, is find a way to stay with not knowing.
Definitely.
And be okay with that.
And it's a fabulous opportunity for people to start to talk about mental health, because you know, I work in the mental health and well-being sector, and I go and do training sometimes, and some people say, I don't know what having poor mental health looks like. But I think there's very few of us at the moment that are going to be free from any sort of anxiety or stress or panic. So I think it's a real opportunity for us to all to start to talk about how we're feeling, because if we're keeping it up inside, it's going to get worse. You know, that fear breeds fear, like you say, it's contagious, and that's also in our minds. It can lead to spirals, can't it, if we're not voicing it and actually supporting each other.
Absolutely.
I feel like that too.
Absolutely. That's why I think it's so important that while we're isolated, if you're on self-isolation, you can't get out, be in contact with people, have a Zoom like this. I've now set up in my street, I live in a little cul-de-sac, there's 20 houses, I've set up a WhatsApp group chat for all of my street. There's lots of friends, we've all got chats. You know, don't lose contact with people. Because isolate is one thing, being locked in, but then to isolate without contact. We're now having to use, luckily we've got Netflix and WhatsApp and, you know, FaceTime. We've got this beautiful technology. We can stay in contact, but it's all online now. So this is our way that we have to have connections, because we're humans. We need connections. We need relationships. But don't isolate yourself even more. Find someone like this to chat to, or message someone and say, you know, I'm struggling today. It's not so easy, because you're right. Everyone is going to be impacted by this. Everyone.
definitely. And I think that's a great idea, and it's part of that reframe that I was saying earlier as well, is rather than thinking I'm isolated, you know, some people are saying it's more, you can think of it as a retreat. You know, if we can't go out, we can go in, we can go inside of ourselves, we can maybe learn to meditate or do group meditations. I'm going to start doing that next week, just offering if people want to join me on Zoom and do some meditations together, and that's already started. I've, you know, people all around the world been messaging
I'm gonna
me.
join.
Yeah, brilliant. Because I think that's the reframe for me. That's the, okay, that is the reality of what's happening, and what can I do that's going to make sure that I am staying connected, that I am as mentally well as possible, so that I'm supporting also my physical well-being the most that I possibly can. You know, not listening to news bulletins every 5 minutes that are, you know, if we heard bulletins every 5 minutes that were telling us how many people have got cancer in the UK, we'd be panicking that we're all going to get cancer. So I think, you know, it's doing what we can, isn't it? We have to keep up to date, but how can we minimize that so that we're not just constantly in this hyper vigilant panic state?
There's kind of almost like a parallel going on, because for me, when I left my body and I remained out for many years, I always felt that the work to connect back in was to come home, and now we are in our homes physically, so can we get home, you know, physically in our bodies as well? Can we return home internally as well as being locked in our homes? Can we use our home, the situation that we're in, to come back to ourselves? Or do we get caught in panic? You know, it's really, I guess it's important to watch, see where you go with it all. What are you doing with it? Can you even pay attention to what you're doing? Are you so caught in your panic you can't even catch yourself? This is what you're doing. Listen, are you losing your temper more often? Are you panicking? Are you watching the news 24/7? Things you can do: turn off your notifications for the news. Don't be on your social media as much, which is difficult because I know I'm doing it as well. But you know, the basics: get good sleep, drink lots, open your windows, get out if you can get out, go for a walk, connect online, do something.
Watch TED Talks. You know, you and I both done TED Talks. There's thousands of TED Talks. You know, you could watch one a day, and just those, you know, online is also very inspirational stuff, isn't there? You know, there's all sorts of stuff out there. There's books that we can download, and also writing. I find that, you know, if I'm feeling fear, feeling anxious, if I just write, because sometimes it can be difficult for people to express their feelings, but I find that if I start to write and just allow whatever's in there to come, sometimes I think, wow, I didn't realize actually that was what was going on inside my head. But once it's out, even on paper, it helps me to calm and think, okay. And so one thing I learned as well was the power of also. So yeah, I'm panicking and all this is happening and blah, blah, blah. And also, I don't yet know what's going to happen. So that, because we can get into absolutes, can't we, when we're in panic? Oh, it's like this, it's going to be like this. And actually, it could also be like this. We don't know yet. So if you can apply the also.
When I said learning to be okay with not knowing. Just be okay in that space. Right now, we don't know. But can you stay steady in that place?
It might happen, it might not happen.
It's happening all around us.
But I mean,
so it is going on, but how are you with it all? Can you stay steady?
Exactly, So what would you say, you've given some really great tips from your experience. Is there anything else that you'd like people to just, maybe something to take away that they could put into practice in addition to what we've just been talking about? Is there anything else you feel?
Well, I must be repeating myself, but I think to avoid the loneliness of being self-isolated, if we do go into lockdown as well, keep in contact with people, really, really important. Keep the relationships going. Maybe look at old relationships and not so great. Maybe it's time to make amends. You know, keep the relationships going. Keep contact with people via WhatsApp, video, FaceTime. You know, don't be isolated, completely alone. Use technology to your advantage.
Brilliant. And I would say something very practical is just our breath. So when we panic, we tend to either cut our breath off completely, or we're just very shallow breaths up here, which actually reinforces that feeling of panic. So if you've done meditation or yoga, as I know we have, but you can just take some really deep breaths into the bottom of your belly. You know, when you breathe in, like there's a balloon in your belly that expands, and then you can just already I start to feel more relaxed. But you can do that at any point. And I like to sometimes visualize, especially at the moment, when you breathe in, that you're breathing in love. And then on the out breath, that you're just breathing out all that fear and anxiety. And then just breathe in love and then breathe out the fear and anxiety.
You can do that any time of the day. You always have your breath. You can do it just when you wake up, when you feel a panic, just before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Any moment in your life, just 5 minutes, 10 minutes here, there. Yeah, you always have your breath. It's really good.
And you can use colours as well. You can use like maybe pink for love if you wanted, or green, or you can use colours if you're visual, anything that's supporting you. And there's lots of just before I finish, there's lots of mindfulness and meditation apps, aren't there? So there's Headspace, Insight Timer.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Or go onto YouTube and listen.
Calm. Yeah. Yeah. So there's all sorts of things that people often say, I haven't got time to. Well, now you've got the time. So think about what it is that you would really love to do. I think some people probably end up having some time to really think about what they're doing in their lives at the moment and where they're really heading. So all of that can be a reframe and helping to just remain a bit more positive or hopeful in light of what's happening. So that's just a few things from Madeleine and I. I'm sure we'll be doing some other stuff over the coming weeks just to support and give and share. So thank you so much today, Madeleine.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and just stay safe and keep well. And yeah, just we both send you our love.
Absolutely.